Okay, I see by the clock on the wall, it's time to start the Board of Directors regular meeting study session for Thursday, April 13th, 2023. Got item number 2, announcement and verification of remote meeting participation pursuant to AB 2449 or GC 54953 subsection B. Arden?
You gonna do that?
Yeah, we would only have to go into that if we had somebody that was participating remotely, either under good cause or under the emergency exception, but we don't today.
Okay.
Ivan is not going to be participating.
Right. Okay, roll call.
Director Meyerhoffen,
Present.
Director Duff,
Present.
Director Griffith,
Present.
Vice President Sewell, President Martin.
Present.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Let the record reflect that Director or Vice President Sewell is unavailable on an excused absence. Okay. Rules of procedure, Counselor.
Yes, according to the rules of procedure adopted by the Board of Directors, all notice meetings are conducted using Rosenberg's Rules of Order as a procedural guideline. Directors should refrain from responding directly to public comments at meetings of the board. The president of the board presides at all meetings and decides all points of order and procedure during meetings. The president is responsible for the maintenance of order and decorum at all board meetings. No person should be allowed to speak who has not first been recognized by the president. No member of the board should speak more than once upon any one subject until every other member of the board wishing to speak on the subject shall have been given the opportunity to speak. No board member shall interfere with the orderly progress of a board meeting. The board president regulates the amount of time to be dedicated to a particular agenda item.
Thank you, Counselor. Item 6, public input. This is the opportunity for members of the public to address the board on matters within the board's jurisdiction. Please limit comments to 3 minutes or less. State law prohibits the board from discussing or taking action on any item not listed on the agenda. Do we have any members of the public wishing to address the board?
President Martin, we do not.
Okay, moving on to item 7, human resources report. See, we have a number of several individuals who we're going to, I guess, honor on Monday.
Yes, we have, of course, Lisa, and all of you got to hear that little bit of that presentation. So we'll do that again on
Monday.
Monday. Yeah.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Item 8 is a public hearing scheduled for Monday, the 17th on resolution 2023-06 to collect sewer fees on tax rolls. There'll be a presentation at that time. We review the item in your packet. And any of your concerns or questions will be addressed on Monday. Item 9, resolution 2023-07, request board authorization to move from level 2 to level 1 of the Mission Springs Water District Storage Contingency Plan. Are we going to proceed on that today or on Monday?
We can have the study session item today.
Okay.
And then act on it on Monday.
And you're handling that, I assume this?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so the staff report that we prepared has in it a resolution and a staff report regarding the request to move from level 2 to level 1 for the MSWD water shortage contingency plan. On March 23rd, I believe, 24th, 2023, Governor Newsom eased the drought restrictions because of the wet winter we have had. When he did that, he reduced the state of emergency for all counties to allow for the drought restriction response and recovery to be reduced from a level 2 to a level 1. The belief was that the state water board would follow that very shortly and follow the same action, which would be to reduce from a level 2 to a level 1. They have yet to do so, and they have posted their, but we've reached out to them to see if they are going to move forward on their item. And their item so far has not been posted on any of forward coming agenda. Therefore, we are not sure if the State Water Board is going to reduce that or not. There have been 2 other water districts here in the Coachella Valley that have moved to go from a 2 to a 1. The resolution in your packet allows us to go from a 2 to a 1, or to allow us to do nothing and simply let it sunset on June 10th, when the original action was to then sunset as well from a state's perspective. So we have it set up so we can pass a resolution and give us the flexibility to, if the state does act or the State Water Board act, or it sunsets, or we can do nothing and it sunsets based on the original resolution that we passed that was going to sunset when the state's action sunsetted as well. So I apologize for a little bit of a confusion. We were thinking that the state was going to move, the State Water Board was going to move forward. They didn't. Therefore, this item is a little bit difficult to follow from that perspective because of the sunsetting already in place. But we wanted to bring it to you from an information perspective. Do we want to move forward with reducing from a 2 to a 1, or stay with a 2? The really big issue between the two, between a 2 and a 1, is the daytime watering. The difference between level 2, you cannot water your lawns in the daylight hours. It's only at nighttime. So that's really the big distinction for us. We're very fortunate here in Desert Hot Springs that most of our residents and customers do not water during the day. So we've had very little people have issues. When they do have issues, it's usually a leaking controller or something else that's running down the street. Everyone we have met with since this restriction went in place, we've been able to work with them and resolve the issue and never went to enforcement. So whether we continue with 2 or 1, the enforcement side of it from our perspective has been 0.
Okay.
So with that, I can answer any questions.
Ted? Amber?
Just one, would you feel that, or has the staff determined whether or not there's a benefit to the district one way or another?
To the district, no. But from a Coachella Valley perspective and our CV water counts and some of the outreach that we do, we've always tried to be consistent across the valley, knowing that 2 have already moved forward, but they moved forward thinking that the state was going to move forward or the water board was going to move forward. So really, that's the only benefit from that perspective, is just to be consistent with the other water purveyors. Now, we don't know what the city of Coachella or the city of Indio or even Myoma Dunes is going to do now, knowing what we know now.
Right.
So we may actually be with the majority, but certainly not the 2 state water contractors that have already moved forward because they had earlier board meetings than we did. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is that our communities are very diligent about their water usage, and every time, and Brian's mentioned this several times, or Marion too, excuse me. And when we do see where we think a discharge where we think it's a violation, they've immediately corrected it. So we haven't had to fine anybody. It hasn't been a
I guess-
problem.
I'm sorry for interrupting, General Manager.
No, go on. That's fine.
I guess my question is more, should we be encouraging this being the time to be using more, or should we be continuing our standard motto of we still need to conserve, we don't want the water to evaporate into the air, let's use our brain kind of thing? Just
I would recommend that we always err on the conservation side.
thank you.
Yes, we have had this conservation effort, whether we were in a drought or whether or not, ever since I've been on the board. And we did presentations at the grade schools, and we put out reading material for the kids and got them involved in sort of mini managing their own water usage with the home and stuff like that. So we've always focused on that. And the main reason is we live in a desert, and it's important for us to conserve and manage the water as the best of our ability and encourage others to do so as well. Did you have anything more you wanted to?
The state couldn't fine us or fine those who okay, that's it.
Robert?
Okay, so you really answered one of my questions, is in terms of enforcement. We haven't had a lot of issues with that in terms of violations. And I think we're very fortunate. We live in a community where we don't spend a lot of money on grass and things like turf. So I think the majority of the people aren't really affected negatively. I think, my personal opinion, if it's gonna sunset in 2 months, when,
June 10th.
Yes.
June 10th? So if you're looking at just another 2 months just to reinforce the conservation thing, I personally don't feel that's a bad thing, especially given that the recent news regarding the Colorado River and the fact that the government may impose cuts, and we're not sure how they're going to be that way. Depending on what happens there, we may end up, even despite all the rain, and I do think people need to understand that when you have a good year of rain, we talk about drought, but really drought is not the issue. The issue is supply and demand. And so 1 year of good supply doesn't always make up for 3 years of no supply. So from my perspective, I don't see any need to rush if it's going to automatically sunset, but that's just kind of my personal feeling.
Okay,
We did just want to be sure that you knew you had that option until.
you want to add anything, Arden, to?
No, I believe you
Okay,
all covered it.
all right, moving on to item 10. Accept single audit report for the year ended June 30th, 2022. It's recommended to review and accept the audited single audit report as presented by Rogers, Anderson, Malady, Scott, LLP. Arden?
Okay, first, Arturo is not here today, so I would, if you have, maybe some really detailed questions, you can wait till Monday that if I can't answer them, but here's this as it explains in the staff report. You might want to know, first of all, what is a single audit report, and we do this actually quite often when we handle large amounts of federal and state funding. The state and the federal government asked that we do an independent audit. And when we got the arrearage money, they originally didn't act like they wanted a single audit. So I feel badly that we didn't say something right up front, but and then recently they said, yes, we would like to see an audit. And I did leave a draft letter on your desk. I told them I would really like to see that. So that you could look at it over the weekend and ask any questions on Monday if you have to. But I mean, your action is only to accept and receive it. Everything looks fine, of course, but that's why we're doing it. Okay.
For a specific.
The project is the arrearage money, which we identify down here in the staff report and the amount. We got quite a bit of money.
Yes.
Which helped us considerably.
Yes.
And we, as you know, we look under every stone we can for money.
Yeah. Amber, do you have any questions?
Yes, sir.
Robert?
Just for clarification, this is separate from the audit that we just did, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And the audit we just did was the general audit of the district. This is specific to this project.
Okay, Ted? Okay. And I have nothing. Item 11, Nancy Wright Regional Water Reclamation Facility update. That will be on Monday as well.
Yes, that's
Okay.
what Steve will.
And I would assume Critical Services Center and Administration, same thing.
It'd be.
Yeah, we can either do it today or we can do it on Monday. It's completely up to.
Well, we can
It's very short and sweet.
go ahead and let's do it today. Get it
Okay.
out of the way.
We met with our CEQA experts earlier in the week and went over some of their initial findings. They did not find any species of any kind burrowed in that area. They are working on trying to decide what has been disturbed and not disturbed and where they believe that we can set aside land and not do any construction, so not to disturb any undisturbed areas. We're working with our architect and putting that plan, those two ideas together, so we can then move some of the walkways and some of the vegetation that we show on our original plan that goes sort of down the hill, if you will, remove that from the plan so there's no overlap of those areas, and clean that up so they can then finalize our CEQA amendment. And then that will then trigger the process of sitting down with the city and going through the application process and all the other information that we need to present to the city. So we're very close to getting that final report so we can start talking with the city formally and going over that plan. Also, we have not been able to establish a date. Unfortunately, now we're pushing it into the first week of May to go see East Valley. So I apologize that we have not been able to lock down a date for that, but we will continue to try. And hopefully, if we have anything by Monday, we can share it then. But we're still working to get that trip scheduled.
Okay, okay.
Concludes my report.
Any questions, Amber?
No, sir.
Robert?
No.
Nothing? Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda. We have the approval of minutes for March 16th, 2023, a study session, and March 20th, 2023, board meeting. The register of demands totaling $7,737,243.05. Also, item 15, acceptance of roof repairs, plumbing improvements, air conditioning, and electrical upgrades for the north building improvement projects at the Horton wastewater treatment plant. Is there anybody who'd like to pull an item, one of those items, 13, 14, or 15 for discussion today? Okay,
President, I will be able to ask Arturo questions on Monday regarding the register of demands.
absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Director's reports. Does anybody want to do their report today? No? In that case, I will do mine report today. Since we're moving along so quickly here. On March 7th, took the sewer plant tour with the fellow board members. And that's probably the 6th or 7th tour of the plant that I've taken since I've been on the board. And there's always something new. And I'm always impressed by considering what they deal with out there, that there isn't a strong odor that you would expect coming from a waste treatment facility. There's a little bit of it depending on where you're standing, but it is very, very impressive, I think, in the technology that's involved out there, the staff working out there, the facility itself is just truly amazing. March 9th, Desert Valley Builders Association Public Officials Luncheon. That was a well-attended event. Nothing more to add to that. March 13th, DVBA board meeting. Nothing to report there either. March 16th, Desert Valley Builders Association Networking Night at HR Green. Nothing to report there. The 17th, Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce. That was a well-attended event. It was a presentation by one of our elected officials. I can't remember now which one it was. You recall? Anyway, okay, anyway. March 21st, City Council meeting. Massage establishment fees were approved. Reflection Park, that's the one by the Miracle Springs Hotel. It's also known as Hot Springs Park. They approved fencing to prevent vandalism and problems with the homeless, making that little park a encampment. Also, the Housing Element Annual Progress Report. They also changed bank services to Union Bank. And contract for our code compliance officer was passed. On the 25th, Little League opening day at Warden Park, myself and Director Meyerhoffen were attended. It's always a pleasure to see the kids out there and the enthusiasm. And it was a well-attended event, and very nice. March 27th, Cabot's Museum Foundation Board meeting, nothing to report there. The Senior Inspiration Awards, that's another one of my favorite events to handle, and some of those people receiving awards out there did some remarkable effort on the part of the communities they represented. On the 31st, the grand opening of the Agua Caliente Sequi spa. I'm used to going into a spa that has maybe 4 or 5 employees. This spa is enormous. They have over 100 employees. They have a complete gym. They have every kind of treatment available, legally available, I might add. One of the things that was kind of interesting was there was each room you went into where they had a representative, an attendant, giving a presentation on what the purpose of it is, what the treatment was, and everything. And I turned the corner, one of them, and Adam Sanchez was one of the attendants, and I'm thinking to myself, he's an attendant. Okay. I was kind of surprised at that. And I talked to him briefly, and he did a good job of explaining that particular room's function. And that concludes my report. Okay. Item 17, General Manager's Report.
Marion, of course, is gone, and so is Arturo, so we'll do those on Monday. Nothing much more to report other than what you see in the, in our narrative here.
Okay.
If there's any questions, I'd be glad to.
All right. Amber, do you have any questions? Monday. Okay. Ted? Robert?
No.
Okay. Item 18, District Council comments.
Yes, just briefly, some of the items that we worked on over the last month include, as I mentioned at the last meeting, we filed our appellate brief in the Mission Springs Water District versus DWA case. And so that's pending. And then the opposition brief is due in June. We concluded the Padilla class action in terms of the resolution is now formalized, as you know. And then also we've assisted the district on a number of items, including Brown Act questions, labor and employment matters as needed. We recently worked with staff on developing a social media policy. We assisted with item number 9 on today's agenda, and also assisted the district's staff with contract matters. And I believe that concludes my report.
Okay. Thank you, Counselor. Item 19, Director comments. Ted? Amber? Monday. Okay. Robert? Monday. Wow. I'll save mine for Monday too. That concludes we're not going to go into a closed session till Monday. Is that correct? Now, Monday's going to be a busy day. Okay. With that, if there's nothing further, the meeting is adjourned. 25 minutes.